Is if you don't have 2 picks in the first round, what are you doing? Big trade news involving the Giants and the Bengals. Can you fill us in on all the details from over the weekend?
Well, Jamie, let's start out from the Giants' perspective here, because New York did try to hang on to Dexter Lawrence. He wanted an upgrade on his contract, which owed him $20 million this season, despite the fact that he's coming off statistically his worst year in the NFL. The sides had negotiations. They just couldn't nail down a structure. And somewhere along the line, it became apparent that Dexter Lawrence wanted to land someplace else. There was not a huge market for Dexter Lawrence. It's always complicated when you're talking about giving up big-time draft capital as well as a new contract. But the Bengals came strong, offering the number 10 overall pick. From a value perspective, that was too good of an offer for the Giants to ignore. So even though this is not a draft in which you have a great deal of blue-chip talent at the top, there are fewer first-round grades on this draft class than any other year that I can remember. Think about this if you're New York. You already own the number 5 pick. Now you own the number 10 pick. You're not going to take Fernando Mendoza. As Kyle said off the top of the show, he's clearly going number 1 to the Raiders. You're also not going to take one of these edge guys because that's not a need for the Giants. So at 5 and 10, New York now gets the opportunity to acquire 2 of maybe the top 6 or 7 players on their board. They get younger. They save cash to continue to build out this roster. Again, they would have preferred for Dexter Lawrence to be in New York, but they had redone his contract a couple of times in prior years. Became apparent Dexter wanted to go someplace else. He is now a Bengal, and the Giants are one of the most interesting teams in the 2026 draft.
They are for sure, and I also submit to you Pittsburgh, Tom. Pittsburgh drafts number 21 in this draft. I've been trying for weeks and months now to find anybody, a player, front office fan, anyone who doesn't think that Aaron Rodgers will be the starting quarterback for the Steelers in 2026. Now, it is April 20th. A day that may have some meaning to Rodgers, I'm not sure. But give us the state of the nation on Rodgers right now and the Steelers as we're moving forward. What do we got?
Kyle, here's what I can tell you. Aaron Rodgers has been in regular communication with Steelers officials, including Mike McCarthy, who he knows very well from his days with the Packers. They've talked plenty about life as well as football. Rodgers also has been training when he's been at meetings that he was hoping that they would have an answer from Aaron Rodgers prior to the NFL draft. My understanding is that is not what is anticipated at this point. Frankly, the reps this time of year are more important for Will Howard to get them. Ideally for the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers would commit prior to the start of OTAs, which are still several weeks away. Those begin in mid-May. They get a little more work than he did last year when he didn't show up until the mandatory minicamp. But nothing final from either side. You're absolutely right that things all along, as we've reported, has seemed like they're leaning toward Aaron Rodgers coming back. But this is Aaron Rodgers. Only he ultimately knows what's going on between his ears. It may still be a few more weeks until we know for sure what his plans are for 2026.
I'm sorry, Tom, did you say a bonus mini camp? I know mandatory mini camp, but I looked at Manti, what is bonus mini camp?
New head coaches get a bonus mini camp that they can run prior to the draft to evaluate their talent. My understanding is, too, a lot of the key players on the Steelers are going to be there. The likes of Jalen Ramsey are all in town in Pittsburgh. It says something probably about Mike McCarthy, this new program, and the emphasis he's placed on building this roster in the right way. They've got a veteran team. Sometimes those guys don't show up for things. It is voluntary, but it sounds like most of the Steelers' key players will be there, just not that certain quarterback who, by the way, is still not yet under contract either for 2020.
Sure. Okay. Good to know. Thanks, Tom P., for that clarification. That means there's 10 bonus mini camps happening around the NFL. Got to keep an eye on that. But speaking of over the weekend, this is just Monday of GMFB. Massive trade went down that involved Dexter Lawrence and the fact that the Giants now sit with that 10 spot where you saw the Bengals sitting just behind the Kansas City Chiefs. So, Isaiah Sandback, you yourself, an employee and cover the Dallas Cowboys, you are very familiar with what this man did for the New York Giants in that division. So what does this move mean for you, knowing Sexy Dexy, knowing the Giants, and know all parties involved?
Well, I can tell you this. Sexy Dexy might be the only man that can get me to call him sexy before I call him his name. So I give you props for that. But in regards to this move and what this actually means for the Bengals, I put it this way. You're worth what somebody is willing to pay. Right, so for everybody that's out there arguing, trying to figure out exactly what is this value. Oh, some people are saying that a 10th overall pick is too high. The Bengals obviously don't feel that way. you don't know what you're going to get out of Sexy Dexy, and I think that's the mystery that everybody has right now. I want to take a look at some of his stats as to why this is a question mark. Look at the inconsistency in his play over the past few years. 4.5 sacks, then you go up to 9 sacks, and then you come down to half a sack, right? The TFLs, right? The QB hits. These are all things that are fluctuating, so these are indicative of somebody who decides to play versus just being an absolute dog all the time. When you hear Sexy Dexy, you know that he's capable of being a game wrecker. What does he do for the Bengals? He gives them flexibility. He gives those guys a front. They've invested in Boye Mafe from Seattle. They got Jonathan Allen, obviously a big boy who's been a beast in the league. They picked up Shamar Stewart last year. So they're reframing what their defensive line looks like. We know that their offense is taken care of. But in regards to this move for them, it gives them flexibility to run a 3-4 by having him be able to play the 0 or the 1. It gives them flexibility to run a 4-3. It gives them leadership on the defensive front because they lost Hendrickson. So we don't know which version they're getting, but obviously they feel secure and confident that they're going to get the big boy Sexy Dexy that we all have come to know.
Well, you just said it, Zay, when you talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, they do have an offense, but that offense, I think they're in a window right now. You have Jamar Chase, you have Joe Burrow, and you have T. Higgins. Joe Burrow and T. Higgins are in year 7, going on year 7. Jamar Chase is year 6, right? So you have this window of opportunity, but to the credit of the defense, the Cincinnati Bengals defense, I do think that they played a little bit better towards the end of the season, yet they still lacked a little bit in the run defense. And you talked about the additions that they've made this year. That defensive front, that run defense took a facelift with all of the guys that they brought over there. And Al Golden loves to run man coverage. So what does Sexy Dexy do for a defense? It allows you to run man coverage because you don't have to commit so many people to the run in that regard, because you have somebody in the middle that will be able to control the middle of that defense. Now, when I look at the AFC North, I think it's wide open right now. You look at the other 3 teams at the division, the Ravens, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Cleveland Browns, all 3 of those teams have new head coaches. All 3 of them. If I'm looking at the Cincinnati Bengals, I know what I'm getting in the offense, which Isaiah alluded to. And defensively, with those 2 young middle linebackers, with this defensive front, the rush front that we just talked about, and the additions in the secondary that they made, this Cincinnati Bengals defense and this Cincinnati Bengals front office just made a push, Kyle, to make sure that the Cincinnati Bengals are being talked about not only during the season and Joe Burrow and all of those guys, but hopefully they get back to the postseason success that they're having early in Joe Burrow's career.
No doubt. And I think this is fascinating from the Giants' perspective. First of all, I'd love to hear more candidly from Dexter Lawrence about what exactly happened, because whatever happened fast. He doesn't want to be there. He requests a trade. The negotiations broke down. Bam, gone. It must have been really, really strong on the Dexter Lawrence side of things, because he must have wanted out. There was going to be a holdout. There was going to be a missed training camp, everything. He did not want to be a Giant anymore. Fine. So there is this sort of victory lap that I can't get behind yet. So the Giants about, oh my gosh, you got the 10 pick for a player who didn't want to be there, who maybe has played his best football already. Congratulations. I don't hand out accolades and congratulations for getting draft picks ever, 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 because it's not congratulations yet. You don't get a contract extension if you're Joe Schoen for getting the number 10 pick. You don't get a playoff appearance for getting the number 10 pick. You get a chance to pick a player. That's it. And I say it all the time, guys. Here we go. They got scratch-offs. They got a bunch of lottery scratch-offs. And Joe Schoen right there, the Giants GM, is going to sit there with his scratch-offs that he just got for Dexter Lawrence, his scratch tickets, his lottery tickets. He's going to have a dumb penny or like a car key or something and just start scratching them and just hope that he makes the pick. Nail the pick. Anybody can get a draft pick for trading a good player. It only matters if you actually nail the pick. And by the way, you got to nail the 5, too. You have the 5 and the 10. Now, the 5, I'm sure they know who they wanted for weeks now. The 10, just is this windfall they have now. We get a second player. There are no accolades. There are no parades, let alone in this city, New York City, for getting draft picks. I don't care if they have the 6, 7, and 8. How many of them turn out to be good players? Because you have the coach now. You have Jackson Dart in his 2nd year. And I don't know if you pay attention to this, but the 2nd-year quarterbacks have to cook. If you're not cooking in your 2nd year, you're not much. Caleb, Burrow, we can go on and on and on. Jackson Dart has to have a big year this year. The OMX expectations are almost like, you got to get in the wild card this year. So even if you do nail those picks, are they going to be rookies who immediately start paying off as a rookie, or do they need a couple of years? I don't know. I think there's this sense of like, they fleeced the Bengals. Wow, congratulations. They have nothing other than an opportunity to submit a card and pray that their pick at number 10 now is good, as well as their pick at number 5. So the celebratory vibe from the Giants, sure, it looks good on paper, but remember, draft picks mean nothing if you do not use them wisely, and we don't know if they will or not.
Very correct, sir. When I think about Joe Schoen and the New York Giants, they've been in this situation before. Matter of fact, in 2022, Joe Schoen drafted Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan O'Neal with the 5th overall pick and the 7th. So to KB's point, he has a 5th now and the 10th. And I'll leave it up to the discussion how that went. But when I'm looking at the Giants and at 5 and 10, I think that you can get pretty creative here. When I look at John Harbaugh and what he's done so far during his short time as the head coach of the New York Giants, he's trying to bring everything from Baltimore and take it to New York. He took Isaiah Likely there. He got Patrick Ricard there. He got the punter there, a safety there. He took an O-lineman there. And I'm looking at number 5, and I'm thinking, man, Caleb Downs is sitting there. Caleb Downs for Ohio State, I think, is the 2nd best prospect in this draft. And there's a guy that he had in Baltimore by the name of Kyle Hamilton. There's a guy that was there when he first got there, and Ed Reed, that could play at every level of the defense, behind the line of scrimmage, at the line of scrimmage, and could be a ball hawk. Caleb Downs at number 5, to me, opens up so many windows for you, Coach John Harbaugh. As a first-year head coach in that market, he's smart. You know the pedigree which he comes from, Matt Patricia. And then at 10, it still allows you to either draft an O-lineman or go get you a wide receiver that can help Malik Neighbors out. So, again, to KB's point, this is a deck of cards. Like, you've just been dealt a hand, but a winning hand can still be lost if you play it wrong. So let's hope they play it right.
As I always like to do, and make sure that Kyle's keeping up with his neighbors. Kyle, let us in on what it's been like in suburban New York to really understand as a Giants fan. Like, were people devastated over the weekend when this trade went through? Like, is this somebody that was such a fixture for them in the future? But I also feel like Harbaugh has now become that, because there's kind of a difference of opinions as to what direction this team is going in. Dexter Lawrence represented maybe the regime of the past, but now John Harbaugh's in town, and he gets to do what he wants with these 2 top 10 picks.
The vibe I pick up from Giants fans is kind of the one I was alluding to, is they just can't believe they got the number 10 pick. I mean, this is really rare, guys. Depending on whether you like it or not, to have a defensive player traded for a top 10 pick this close to the draft is unbelievably rare. Like, you'd have to go back years and years and years to find something, which again means Dexter Lawrence wanted the hell out of New York, and I'd love to hear from Dexter about why. I know he's done a lot of losing there. I know there's been a lot of, but geez, that's a very strong conviction as you have a new head coach coming in. And I know the money plays a role, and Cincinnati going to give him some more money, I guess, but I still think the vibe from Giants fans is like, oh my God, the 5 and the 10 were set. Are you? I mean, are Giants fans doing backflips about Thibodeau and Neal? Like, did they crush those picks, or are they still kind of pretty good? I mean, they did not get Harry Carson and Lawrence Taylor with those picks. So I think the Giants are the #1 story in the NFL draft this year. #1. I think they're the most interesting team. Obviously, they're going to be up the most. Like, this is a big-time thing. This draft will be looked at in 2 years and 20 years for the Giants about this was the one, or, oh, my God, that was supposed to be the one. Huge, huge stakes for the Giants, which is fun.
I found it interesting. I was reading Florio on NBC. They had a report that they pulled from the New York Post, and it said that the Post claimed that his agent, Dexter's agent, prevented John Harbaugh from speaking directly to the player, saying that Harbaugh and who's got it better than us personality could have weakened Lawrence's will.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
That happens.
That can happen. You're like, oh, gee, all right, coach, I'll do it. But instead, that guy is going to wear his Bengals helmet next season. We are just 3 days away from the start of the 2020